With a show of hands, how many folks in the audience have taken a dance class? How many were in the school band? And how many participated in a school play? Okay, so there is experience with performing arts in this school, in this room, and in this county. And whether you realize it or not, some of that experience rippled through time and changed your life. When I was in elementary school, I played a lady-in-waiting in The Rockin' Tale of Snow White. Out of the 5 or 6 girls playing ladies-in-waiting, I was chosen to do a special scene. The scene was entering when the queen snapped, exiting, grabbing a box from the wings and bringing it back on stage. Simple, right? Well, it was in every show but one. During one of the shows, I sat on the steps backstage and completely zoned out. The queen snapped and called for me, but it was a good 30 seconds before I realized and rushed onto the stage, carrying the box she was sending me off to find. The other actors covered it well, but I was beyond embarrassed. I remember very little from that show. Aside from a few bars from the opening song and the queen saying, "Hasta la vista, baby," to Snow White, I only remember that moment, but I remember every detail of that moment. Not only did it teach me a lot about covering mistakes in theater, it taught me a major lesson about embarrassment. Today, I am an exceptionally unembarrassed person. I learned that incidents are only embarrassing if you are embarrassed, and I carry that with me. I have had extensive experience with theater. When I was 2, I danced around the house singing "Ding Dong, the Wicked Witch is Dead." When I was 4, I did my first school play. And when I was 5, my mom signed me up for the first in a long line of summer drama camps. In elementary and middle school, I participated in plays, musicals, vocal and dance recitals, camps, and many, many after-school classes. All throughout this time, my grandmother was taking me to see all kinds of musicals. We saw shows like Wicked, The King and I, and Aladdin at big theaters in San Francisco, exposing me to the magic of the stage. And shows like Alice in Wonderland and Beauty and the Beast at high schools and community theaters, exposing how accessible this life could be to me unconditionally. She even took me to New York City to see The Lion King on Broadway, after which I danced around my room listening to that CD for weeks. Sitting in those theaters made my young eyes glitter. I always left feeling dazzled. Performing arts was a vital and joyous part of my childhood, never competitive nor toxic. I took a break for a while as I got into the marching band scene and rekindled my love of the stage as a sophomore in high school. I was in the orchestra for the school musicals for 2 years, Chicago and Guys and Dolls. I sat under the stage with my band friends and my flute and played the background music for the shows. While walking down those secret steps into the pit felt like a badge of honor, there was a distinct separation between musicians and actors. And by the end of the second year, I found myself beginning to feel achingly jealous of those on stage. Don't get me wrong, being in the pit was a blast, an experience like no other, although I believe every experience in the performing arts is like no other, but I digress. Yet every time I walked past those lit-up makeup mirrors, smelled the sticky scent of hairspray in the green room, or listened to mic checks, I longed to be on the stage again. That next year, my senior season, I got up the nerve to audition for Heather's. I auditioned for Heather Chandler, the meanest mean girl around. I was rusty. My breath control had adapted from singing technique to flute playing technique, which are surprisingly different. The director told me that although I was singing well, I wasn't acting to my fullest potential, which was the opposite of what I had always thought and always heard. He told me that I wasn't letting go and allowing the character to take over. Now, this is something I still struggle with as an actor. I was cast as an understudy and for a different role, Veronica. I am not a competitive person, but I am a competitive performer. I always wanted that lead, the first chair in band, and that solo in a vocal or dance recital. So I was very disappointed, and I was very aware that there would be a public element to this disappointment as the cast list was posted for the entire school to see. I wholeheartedly believe in the sentiment that there are no small parts, only small actors, but I had been used to getting the roles I wanted, and it felt like a fall from grace. Humbling. Swallowing that disappointment and coming back the next day wasn't easy, but I did it with the widest, shiniest smile on my face. Okay, I thought, I will have to show him. I'll be the best understudy the world has ever seen. I act best when there's stakes. Auditions and opening night shows are where I shine the brightest. My potential is not fully reached in rehearsal when there's no adrenaline pumping. This time would be different. I was the first one there and the last one to leave every day, leaving hours after the girl I was understudying for. I stashed my script under my math book and inhaled the lines like oxygen until I knew them backwards. I begged for notes after every scene in rehearsal. Maybe too much. The director started to begin the notes before I even asked for them by the end of the run. And when he signed my yearbook that year, he even started with, "Here's a few notes." While the drama and tension caused by the director pitting us against each other and holding shows over my head was unpleasant, that was a life-changing show. It showed me how much passion and work ethic I was capable of. And I knew then that I needed theater in my life when I went to college, and I was going to seek it out with a hunger. Flash forward to the club rush, my second week on campus. I walked circles looking for a drama club sign-up sheet until I finally found one. I was recently asked what my most meaningful moment in theater was, and I had to say it was walking up to that table. I walked up, talked to the two friends sitting behind the table, gave them my email, and walked away feeling like I had started something. Now, 3 years later, those two people are no longer friends, but they are getting married next week, and I am a bridesmaid in their wedding. I auditioned for the show that semester, and I got a major supporting character. I was shocked and elated. The cast of that show are now my lifelong friends. The next semester, I got a lead, and the next two we put on virtual plays. Through theater, we saw each other every week, even in the midst of a pandemic. And when we came back, we kept that momentum going, all the while I rose through the ranks to president of the club. I'll never forget that high school director telling me that I was too nice to play a mean role, because that's my go-to now. I love the villain. A Rizzo from Grease, a Sharpay from High School Musical, or even a Heather Chandler. Strong women are my forte. Elle Woods from Legally Blonde or Sandy after her makeover are some of my dream roles. I carried that note with me for years. And all this being said, had I never gone to that first camp at 5, I would have never longed for the stage in high school, never circled finding that drama club sign-up sheet, never met the people that I will know and love for the rest of my life. Theater did that. And schools in this county have art seeping through them too. The middle school that I intern at has every child learn to play a violin or viola and teaches musicals to the children. And with each screeching violin, each student reading their script in math class, each little girl practicing her songs from Annie on the Playyard, I'm transported back to that kid being taught about singing and dancing, all the while learning key life lessons. You may never think that missing an entrance in a play at 9 years old would change the way a kid views themselves forever, but that is the power that performing arts holds. And carrying arts with you through life is absolutely not always about a career. I used to think that it was a curse, not being talented enough to go pro. But I've realized in adulthood that it has allowed me to live any life I wanted with theater always waiting in the wings. It has always held my hand when I needed it, always lit a fire inside of me when school or work or life felt dull. Performing arts is a piece of me, but I walked through life with it as a companion, not a career path. That kid that begrudgingly slumps into that mandatory band class at 12 could become the next Mozart, but it's usually deeper than that. Usually, they slump into class and they find a spark for music. Maybe they go on to sing or act. Maybe they find a second home on the stage. Maybe they're talented, but not Broadway talented, so they find their favorite songs and movies in musicals. Maybe they beg for pages and pages of notes while the future Broadway star walks out the door. Maybe they circle to find that drama club sign-up sheet and find their fiancé or future child's godmother behind it. Every one of these things came from that first arts class. All it takes is one opportunity, one spark to ripple through time, and all of a sudden, all the world's a stage.